Alright, welcome to another video. It's been a little bit since I uploaded. The van's been giving me some issues and giving me projects to tackle. And on top of that, it's been the holidays, so get a little busy. But anyway, I did have a few people ask for a tour of the electrical system. I've covered pretty much every aspect of it in different parts of videos here and there. But I figured I'd make this one to kind of give a full run through of the way it's set up now. So I think what I'm going to do is just sit here and explain it, and then I'll roll in footage and I'll be piecing together step by step a diagram that you guys will see on screen so you can kind of follow along, and hopefully it all makes sense that way. So let's go ahead and start with the sources of my power and charging, as well as my charge controller. So of course my van, like every vehicle, has an alternator, and that's kind of the primary thing that recharges and powers my system. I also have a shore power plug that I've installed in the side of the van, and I made a video installing that as well. The plug I used is a plug made by Noco. It's the Noco AC port plug, and at first I installed one that only had one 110 volt plug on it, but I took it out and replaced it with the one that has two of them so that I could use one of them to power an extension strip power block that I have, and the other one to power a shore power charger, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And the other option that I have to power everything is through solar. I don't have a panel mounted on my roof. I have one just above me here in the loft. It's a 100-watt Renogy solar panel, and I have like a 25-foot, I think, extension cable that I got for it, and then I installed a bulkhead plug on the side of the van, so I can take the panel out, set it up in the sun, and keep the van parked in the shade, and just plug the panel in through the bulkhead connector on the side of the van, and that in turn goes to my charge controller to charge the van with solar power. So one thing you can get that power coming in from a 110 volt plug or a solar panel or your alternator, but you need something to control the charge, and what I'm using is a Ctek D250SE DC to DC charger, and that controls the charge to my auxiliary battery for the solar and from the alternator. It knows the special charge profiles for AGM batteries or lithium batteries, so it's like a smart charger that can charge your auxiliary battery properly. I have a full review on the D250SA, which is the previous model. I'm pretty certain the D250SE, which I have, is exactly the same, but they've added a charge profile for lithium batteries in the new model, and you can't even get the SA anymore. So you can check out that review if you want even more details on that charge controller. The other method of charging my battery I have is through the shore power plug, the 110 normal kind of extension cord plug-in. So when I'm plugged into shore power with an extension cord, my auxiliary battery gets charged with a Noco 10 amp onboard charger. And they I think those are designed for installing in boats so that you can keep your boat plugged in, but it works just fine with this. It's got AGM profiles and lithium, and I think it was around $110 for that charger, and it's been working fine for me for the last almost a year. Also, when I'm plugged into shore power, on the other side of this cabinet here, I have a power strip that's plugged in that has a built-in circuit breaker. I just got it on Amazon. It's got 5 outlets that are widely spaced, as well as 3 USB plugs, and that just plugs into the one of the two 110 outlets from my shore power plug. And so that's just if I'm plugged in somewhere, I don't have to be drawing on my battery. My battery's getting charged by the onboard charger, and I can plug USB things and outlet things into the power strip and be good to go. As I mentioned, all that power is coming in to charge an auxiliary battery. I previously was using a 92 amp hour AGM battery, and I had that in my Subaru. And then when I got rid of the Subaru, I installed it in the van. I have since upgraded from there. I wanted a little bit more power and a little bit more longevity. That battery was slightly starting to show its age. It still worked fine, but I decided, since I was redoing the interior, let's go ahead and upgrade the power source. So I'm now using a 206 amp hour SOK lithium iron phosphate battery, and I'm pretty pleased with it. As far as the lithium batteries go, they are very expensive up front compared to other batteries. So the reason I upgraded to lithium is because they last a lot longer, they're a lot lighter, and you can use all of their capacity that's stated. So like I said, that's a 206 amp hour battery. I can use all of those amp hours of power. Whereas if you're using a AGM battery or a standard lead acid battery, you only really have about half of that before the voltage drops below 12 volts and the battery's not usable, or you damage it if you try and drain it any farther. So coming off the auxiliary battery, I have wired in a fuse block with a circuit breaker in between. The fuse block I use is a Blue Sea Systems. I believe it's a 12 slot fuse block. What I like about it is it has a positive and negative connection on the fuse block. So it makes it pretty straightforward when you're wiring in an accessory like the lights, because you have a positive and a negative, and you attach the negative to the negative post and the positive to one of the fuse slots, and you're good to go. So I mentioned the accessories a little bit, but I'll just kind of run through them again with maybe a little bit more detail. The fridge I'm using is a 12 volt compressor fridge. It's pretty efficient, really quiet, and I'm pretty pleased with it. And it's just wired in through a plug on the back, or through a plug on the side, that I have cut the like the cigarette lighter end off to hardwire it directly to my fuse block. And yeah, I have no complaints about it so far. And as far as lights go, I have this kind of dome light here. It's kind of a two-way dome light with you turn two on or just one on, and that's wired in through the walls. Actually, I think I wired it up and then around behind me, behind this headboard here, and then back down the other side and down to the fuse block. This one is on its own circuit, and then I also have these accent lights right here, which I'm not sure if they'll show up. There you go, you can see them lighting up there. And those are ran on their own circuit as well, which loops around and then drops straight down. Down to my left, I installed two USB outlets that have 2 outlets each, so 4 total USB plugs. They have their own built-in little on-off switches, which I really liked, because most of the time you wire in an outlet or a plug, you put in a rocker switch somewhere else. This made it so much easier because I can just wire them in, and they have their own built-in on-off switch. I actually first bought them for the front of the van for the dash, and I liked them so much that I bought 2 more to put in the back here. So the last accessory I have is buried back in the back of the van, and that is my diesel heater. I have that installed back there, and it's running great. Technically, the installation instructions say to wire it directly to the battery. However, I knew I was using quality components and good quality heavier wire, so I decided to just wire it to the fuse block to keep it cleaner, because the battery posts get kind of cluttered even with just the chargers hooked up and the cables running to the fuse block. It's kind of cramped in there, and I didn't want to have to add one more thing. So I wired it to the fuse block, and I have not had any issues with it yet. If I do in the future, maybe I'll go ahead and disconnect it and wire it directly to the battery. But for now, I have it wired to the fuse block, and it's working fine. And the diesel heater is awesome. In fact, I'm tempted to turn it on right now because it's really cold out right now, and I'm sitting out here in the van. If you're interested in more details about the heater, go ahead and check out one of my last couple videos. I made a video about what diesel heater I don't recommend you buy, and by the way, it's the one that's back there, but I had to rip it all apart and reinstall it. Anyway, there's more details in that video if you check it out. So that's pretty much it. It's a pretty straightforward system. It may look kind of complicated, especially if you look at this panel, and it may seem kind of overwhelming, but hopefully the chart and the explanations kind of made it seem a little clearer, easier to understand. So if you have any other questions, let me know. I'm actually going to be putting the van away for a little bit, honestly, because I keep running into these little projects. It's an old car, and old cars like to throw you curveballs, and it seems like I fix one thing and find another thing. For example, I finished my interior, and quickly after I did that, the heater core started leaking and pouring coolant out on the floor. So I just had the dash pulled out, replaced the heater core, and then the alternator went out, and it has been leaking coolant out of the intake manifold for a while, which I've been kind of dragging my feet on, but fixing the heater core seemed to make that worse. So I'm just gonna park the van for now. I want to get out and do some more filming rather than just playing catch up on maintenance with the van, because that's not as fun. So I picked up a new ride that'll be kind of a new project, and also just a temporary little thing to get me out and going and filming and doing more stuff, because like I said, just playing maintenance catch up isn't nearly as fun. So we'll introduce that project maybe next time. So until then, I'll see you guys later, and thanks for watching.
If you like to follow along with the rest of our adventures, make sure to subscribe, and to make sure you don't miss out on any other videos, click the notification bell as well.